everyone, welcome back or welcome to my channel. Today I'm talking about Queen of Shadows. I really enjoyed this book. It had a lot of action, a lot of good action sequences in it. However, it did lack a little bit of wyvern for me. I really loved the wyverns in Air and Fire. I really love Abraxas and his cuteness, smelling the flowers. He is precious. Wanted more of him in this book. And also, if he dies later, I will sue Sarah J Maas. I'm sorry. He has to live on. If he doesn't, I'm not going to be happy. And don't tell me, don't spoil it for me. But yeah, if he dies, I'm done. He's just too precious to die. Anyone else can die, but not him, and not the dog either, not Fleetfoot. We must not let the animals die in the books. The people can die, but not the animals, okay? Moving on. In this story, we return with Aelin, not Selena, to Rifthold, and she's dyed her hair red. She's kind of posing as someone else. She's living in the flat that she purchased, and she's kind of working in the underworld, in the sewers, kind of back in the same setting that we've seen in Assassin's Blade. I think reading Assassin's Blade after Air of Fire and before this could also work as a good reading order, although I'm glad that I had some of the context from Assassin's Blade for Air of Fire. But this story really feels like a return to the roots for Aelin to really burn Selena's life to the ground and like settle some scores. She comes back to Rifthold and she starts tentatively working with Arobynn again, but she's wiser now. She's Aelin and not Selena, and she won't let herself be manipulated by him. She, was a little bit naive to his plays in Assassin's Blade, and now she's kind of beyond that and she's ready to address it, although she's got, some demons about it as well. She's got some misgivings and she really doesn't relish having to spend much time with him again. However, she plays the game and she kind of uses his help to liberate Edion from the king, where he is in the dungeons. He's actually dying from infection, trying to die fast because he isn't aware that Aelin is there and going to save him. She also reconnects with Lysandra, who is a courtesan character she was kind of enemies with in Assassin's Blade, but Lysandra is kind of on her side now. She really has turned against Arobynn and wants to help Aelin, Selena overcome him and overthrow him. She doesn't know that Selena is Aelin, but over the course of this book they actually have a kind of enemies to friendship arc that is super lovely, and Lysandra becomes a really cool character and a real key member of Aelin's court. They become really good friends, and it also turns out that Lysandra is a shapeshifter, which is like maybe the coolest power in the whole series so far. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. They basically rescue Edion, and that's quite action packed. It goes off well. Selena Aelin, it's kind of mixed at this point, but she nearly kills Dorian, who is enslaved by the Val Prince. He's got a collar on, and the Val Prince is basically taken almost complete control. No one can really tell that Dorian is still in there, so she tries to kill him, but Nezran, another new character, stops her, which is good because we don't want to see Dorian die. We'd like to try and save him. So Aelin fails to kill Dorian, but she gets Edion out and gets him home back to the flat, and we get to see them reconnecting and forming a good friendship, cousinship, whatever cousins that are friends is called. We also get to see Aelin confront Chaol again. They kind of broke up in Crown of Midnight and left things on kind of weird terms, and things are on very strange terms between them when they rekindle. They don't really have like a nice chat like I would have expected them to. It's very hostile. It's kind of more hostile than it needs to be. There's a lot of mistrust, although I understand that Selena Aelin is unhappy with him for ditching Dorian. He's unhappy with himself for ditching Dorian, and he can't quite reckon with the fact that she's Aelin at this point. So it's fair to say that their relationship is like severed pretty much straight away. And we meet Nezran, who is someone that Chaol was basically like fuck buddies with before he met Selena, and they're kind of friends. They're kind of working together. They haven't really rekindled a romance, but like there's some tensions there, and yeah, that's still that exciting, their storyline. But they're basically fighting in the sewers in the underground, against the Valg presence in the city. And they are a very important part of the resistance in the city. Rifthold has kind of been overrun by a new King's Guard, not Chaos Guard, a different one that's where they wear all black, and they're all kind of infested with the Valg. This was quite cool. I kind of pictured this as, you know, the black demon things from Howl's Moving Castle and Studio Ghibli, where they're kind of splodgy and, you know, they're taking on different forms. Kind of pictured the Valg as being a little bit like that, even though they're in human form. But yeah, I love taking that Studio Ghibli imagery and putting that on a story. It always works well, especially for fantasy worlds. We see lots of different parts of the city as our kind of group of characters work to overthrow this Valg presence. They kind of go into the catacombs at one point, they go into the shadow market, which at one point gets burned down. And yeah, we just see like the nitty gritty depth of Rifthold. We see like the slums a little bit, and we see it becoming like more of a horrible place to live. There's executions all of the time, there's constantly dead bodies and crows feeding off dead bodies, and it's got a real horror kind of feel to it. After Edian's rescue, we get a plot to overthrow Arabin and kill him. Lysandra gets to kill him in the end, which, you know, is satisfying, even though, you know, it felt a bit strange for Selena, for Aelin not to do it. But I think, you know, as Selena, she 100% would have done it, but her stepping aside and letting Lysandra do it instead is kind of her stepping away from Selena and into Aelin. So I think from a character's perspective, that was a good choice. Just before the killing of Arabin, Rimmon comes back into the story, and we get to see like this romance between Selena and Rimmon blossoming, which is good. They have their own mission to get the word key that is in the Amulet of Orinth. They don't tell anyone else about this plot because they're keeping it very secret, but they achieve this when they go to Arabin's, and then he is killed. Lochran from Maeve's Court also shows up, and they have some standoffs with him. He's also looking for the word keys, and they kind of like trick each other and help each other at different points of the story. We also have Manon's plot with the witches, where she is at Morarth, where Duke of Perrington is. This is where a lot of crazy Valg shit is going down, and they're trying to breed witches with Valg to make Valg kings. Manon is faced with a lot of kind of moral questions at this point, because she's being asked to follow orders and being asked to sacrifice the witches to become these vessels, but she has misgivings about it. Her 13 have misgivings about it. There's kind of butting heads between her and her 13 because they disagree with her letting this happen, and she kind of doesn't know what to do because her conscience is telling her one thing, but her programming, her brutal programming from her grandmother, the way she's been brought up, is like taking her in another direction. We see a lot more of Caltaine in this story, and even get some bits from her point of view. She turns out to have this shadow fire power, which is really powerful. She's basically a war weapon, and she seems to be ensnared by the Valg, although we see from her point of view that she's actually been battling against the Valg presence inside her quite well. She gets a brilliant end where she gets to blow up half the castle and kind of put a stop to all of this breeding program that's going on. We also meet another new character in this storyline called Elide, and she's got like a club foot, a malformed foot, because of an old broken ankle. Sarah J Maas talks about this, like she's always calling it like that ruined leg and things like that, and I don't know if like that's maybe a little bit of bad taste. Feels a little bit like ableist, but I guess it's I'm torn between it's good to have representation of someone that has maybe a deformity or a mobility issue, and she has a real potential to be a cool badass character. Elide likes to pretend she's weaker than she is so that she can manipulate people around her and kind of survive. She's got good survival instincts in that sense. She sort of morphs herself, not physically, but through her acting and demeanour so that she can get away with certain things. So I think she's a cool character and could be good representation, but I just don't like that it's always referred to as like that ruined leg. But I don't know, maybe I'm just being overly sensitive, but I'm just not sure about it. It makes me a little bit uncomfortable every time. I feel like it's coming across a little derogatory, where she's probably just trying to be descriptive, but I don't know, I think it could be handled with slightly better taste. Over the course of this plot, we learn that Elide is actually the daughter of Marion, the woman who sacrificed herself to help Aelin escape back when her parents were murdered. And so it's cool that we learn that Elide has a strong connection to Aelin and that she's trying really hard to get back to her and really rooting for her. She could become a really strong member of Aelin's court once they're reunited. And I'm intrigued to see where her plot takes her now that she's out in the woods. She's got the word key that she doesn't know is a word key from Caltain, and she's looking for Selena, not knowing that she's actually Aelin. So I can't wait for them to finally meet each other. Other than that, I didn't enjoy the witch's plot as much in this book, as I've said, because of the lack of wyverns. But I did like that Abraxas was really nice to Elide and let her sleep next to him and cuddle up, and he had a real soft spot for her, which just shows like how he's the best character and he's so sweet. I feel like I need to get a t-shirt that's like #1 Abraxas fan. Anyway, let's go back to Rifthold for a second, talk about the end of the book. We get a great final showdown. The king, it turns out, has had the demon in him all along and isn't really evil. There's a big showdown between Aelin and Dorian, and then Aelin manages to slip the ring onto Dorian's finger, which helps free him from the Valg, and then he kills his father, even though it's revealed that his father wasn't potentially guilty, it was the Valg demon all along. He kills him anyway, and he and Aelin shatter the whole glass castle. I think he shatters it, and then Aelin and probably Rowan protects everyone by melting the glass and then forming a big wall out of the glass to stop it from kind of killing all of Rifthold. But I liked that we got this big cinematic ending of the glass castle shattering and us only being left with the good stone castle. I like that Dorian is back to himself and he's defeated the demon. I like the little connection with Manon that he had. I have seen some spoilers. I think they are, going to have more to do with each other in future books. And I'm here for it. I think that she can understand the darkness he's been through and he can help bring her into the light a bit more as well. I think that'll be an interesting friendship or romance to see in the future. And finally we have Chaol, who kind of redeems himself by having a showdown with the king, distracting him to give Aelin a chance to help Dorian. So even though he ran away from the king in Air Fire, he stands his ground and he kind of finally receives the blow that he should have gotten on that day. And this ends up crippling him from the neck down. Rowan manages to work some magic and heal him, so he's only paralysed from the waist down. And he ends the story in a bit of a rough spot. He's going to go in the Tower of Dawn to go and see about getting potentially healed. But him and Nesryn kind of have rekindled their romance at this point. And Queen of Shadows ends with them kind of in a relationship. So overall, I don't have too many criticisms. I think this was a really good end to kind of this portion of the series. I feel like, when people talk about the series online, the next 3 books feel quite separate from the first 5. And I think it does feel like an end with the shattering of the glass castle. It kind of ties up Selena's storyline. It ties up Rifthold. From this point, the characters are going to scatter and go in different directions for a while. And Aelin has pretty much left Selena Sororthian behind and she's going to be fully Aelin Galathinius. So yeah, I think this makes a good time to pause, maybe read some other books, review some other books, and then crack on with the tandem. I don't know when I'll be back on this channel to review the tandem. I'm reading it now. I'm about a quarter of the way through both books. And yeah, it's probably going to be another couple of weeks. So you're probably going to see some other reviews for a few weeks. And then I'll be back to review the tandem and then Kingdom of Ash. Possibly with a break in between. Not sure yet. Let me know what you thought of Queen of Shadows in the comments below. Please subscribe and help me grow this channel. Share this if you really liked it with other people that might like it. And follow me on Instagram at Corinnesliterate. Thanks for watching. Bye!